The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 810. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She is an entrepreneur and also an expanding influencer, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jenny Chang. Jenny, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Sheena, for having me. It's such an honor to be here. So yeah, I would say that just my background is, I was an experiential director. So I produced a lot of, large events and whatnot. And I revolved a lot of my businesses around experiential planning. And I started my companies when I was 19 years old. And that was about 11 years ago. So I just kind of really, kept myself under the hood, and just got in like building mode, got in creation mode. I had like 3 different branches, all throughout the US. And it was just it was a really good run. And then COVID hit and the event industry kind of, did its natural thing and it kind of tanked for a moment. But I really used that time to really kind of, focus a little bit more on putting myself on that map, kind of wearing a little bit more of the CMO hat as opposed to the CEO hat right now. So I focused a lot more on marketing effective like April of this year, I want to say. And I use TikTok as like my ultimate tool to really kind of put my personality out there, put myself as an entrepreneur, kind of the spiritual healer, influencer, whatnot. And yeah, I'm proud to say that we've expanded very quickly, within the last like 7 to 8 months. So I'm really grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Jenny, what's your cultural background?
I'm Korean. So I'm a Korean American and my parents are both from South Korea and they moved out here about like 33 years ago. And yeah, I'm a proud Korean American.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. What would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of like quotes from other people that I'm that I can think of off the top of my head. But there's a reoccurring thing that I like to say, and it's just be unapologetically you. Like live your life just being as unapologetic as possible.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I think it's a great reminder, especially as Asian women, we feel like we have to be somebody else, but we just really have to be ourselves, our true selves, and the right people will come to us. The right things will come to us because we're showing up as our authentic self. So thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
So I feel like self-confidence to me is, bridging the gap between who we appear to be and who we really are. So there's this whole idea that I kind of live by, right? This mantra in the sense where like we have this top hand, bottom hand, and I'm very inspired by an author that actually really kind of shined a light on this. But there's this whole theory on top hand, bottom hand, where, our bottom hand is who we are. And our top hand is who we appear to be. And all of us have this like gap in between, right? All of us have a gap, no matter how close those hands are like touching. But it's, for me, confidence and self-confidence is determined and defined more so on how close we are every day in closing that gap, between that reality so that we can be one with our 3D and 5D selves.
I really love that definition. I think it makes so much sense because I know sometimes we put on a different person when we're out in the world, or especially in social media, right? We come up as somebody else because sometimes we're afraid of showing our vulnerability, our weaknesses, our flaws. But if we can show up as ourselves, it really does bridge that gap, right? Like you mentioned, the top and bottom hand. So I really love that definition that you mentioned. And what was your life like before discovery of self-confidence?
I would say my life before really kind of managing confidence and really kind of grounding this energy of really kind of discovering who I really am. Right? And really kind of living in that true self. I was a really reactive person. I was a very reactive person. I was very insecure. I reacted, I didn't respond. I reacted, if that makes sense. And it's just because I just felt like there was so little control that I had in my upbringing. There was so much, like, so little control in the way that I felt like that I had control over in my life. And because I didn't, the smallest little thing, like, would put me in a very reactive state of mind. And starting a business when I was 19, didn't help. Because no one teaches you when you're 19 that, like, you're going to adopt all these people and you got to take care of them. You got to mold them, shape them before really stepping into, like, who I am, what I'm about. I feel like I was just that's the best way to put it, very reactive. And I'm proud to say now that I'm able to very much manage my energy in the best way to respond to situations so that I can essentially be the greatest problem solver in my own life.
Thanks for sharing that. What was that moment in your life when you realized you are confident and you showed up as your true self? What was that aha moment?
I think the aha moment was realizing that I was special. Like, it was as simple as that. I knew that I was special, and I knew I was special because of the things, the creativity, the ambition, the strength, the resilience. When you can start converting your problems, right? And you can start converting that into assets to really help leverage who you're becoming and leverage who you are, you start to realize just how much power you actually have. And when you start to recognize just how much power you have, by being able to learn from your mistakes, by being able to grow and expand and almost essentially build golden blocks under your feet through every lesson, every challenge, right? Every difficult moment in your life, and you understand how to convert that energy into something that benefits you. It shapes resilience, doesn't it? Right, Sheena?
Totally. I mean, I love how you mentioned realizing that you're special because I think a lot of us feel like we're not special, especially as Asian women, how we're brought up. We're just told to be in the background, never make any noise, just do as you're told. And because of that, we feel like we're not worthy enough to go out there and take the next step or even forge our own path. And so it's a great reminder to every single person listening to this that they are special and they do have certain skills, talents, and creativity to go out there and to create a better impact in this world, especially this time that we're in. It's a very weird time. But I believe there's better days ahead. And, because of what your aha moment was, what's your life been like now?
I feel like my life now is just it's always just ready for that next challenge, for the next positive outcome to present itself, but also being ready for any challenge that comes, right? Because to build that kind of resilience, to build the confidence to be able to problem solve, right? Like whenever you go through a heartbreaking moment and moments in which you can't control, but somehow you're able to bounce back from that and really come forth, right? Step into your shoes and be like, hey, you know what? I may not have been able to control that situation, but this is what I can control in my life. When you get to that point where your mentality and your perspectives change, what ends up happening, Sheena, is you start to live a life in which you get really excited for that next day to come. You get really excited for that next month to come because you're like, or no matter what happens, no matter what event comes forward, right? No matter who I come across, I'm gonna seize that opportunity full force, right? I'm gonna get curious as a cat. I'm gonna get through anything. You know what I mean? And so that's really how I was able to expand. I was able to expand on being a top event planner in this country that way. I was able to get into the face of doing my own podcast that way. I was able to grow social media quite quickly that way, And so very grateful to know that the only boundary that I could ever have, the only limitation that I could ever have is my own mindset. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally. I know when it comes to confidence, a lot of us don't really believe in ourselves, right? We feel like we can't go and take that next step or take that next leap. But really, if we just build it step by step, we can get there. And yeah, it's not easy. Like you mentioned, you're ready to take any challenge. And that's what confidence is because it's not something that's linear. It's like a roller coaster. One day you're 100% confident. The next day you're minus 10% confident. But it's how we pick ourselves back up is what matters the most, especially you being an entrepreneur for 11 years. I'm sure you've had your fair share of up and downs and frustrations, maybe crying ugly every day or even wanting to quit because that's what the process is. And I think if more people realize that, then they realize like this is what's part of entrepreneurship, but it's still worth it in the end. And I wanted to ask if a woman's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I would say that my biggest tip in really kind of building the self-confidence, is to do it for you, not for other people. You know what I mean? You'll get a lot more efficient in where you want to get to if it's all for you. Don't let mom, dad, sisters and brothers and friends, and all these people that are so far from your actual reality, like in terms of your mental space. It's more so surrounding yourself with all the right people, right? But not taking anything personally, good or bad. And that really kind of revolves around this idea of whatever it is that you're going to create, you got to create it for yourself first. Once you're able to do it for you, you'll find other people in this world that are going to connect to you. They're not going to connect to why you did it for someone else or for you to retaliate or get some revenge on this person that said that you couldn't do it, right? It's more so the idea of whatever it is that you're going to do, building the self-confidence, creating that first business of yours, falling in love, and taking a leap of faith, whatever it may be, you always have to put yourself first, unapologetically, very much first. And so everyone else is the default until you get to where you want to be. Once you get to where you want to be, at least you don't, you'll sit there and say you didn't do it for anyone else. You did it for you.
Great advice. I really love that tip. And it's such a great reminder because we've been programmed to always serve others before we make ourselves happy. But it should really be the other way around, because when we get to know what we tolerate and not tolerate, that's when we can serve people a lot better in a better way. So for sharing that great tip. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do and check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the big hub is jennychang.com, and that's Jenny with the Y, Chang. And then that's jennychang.com. And then of course I have two different social names. TikTok is I am Jenny Chang, and then Instagram and everything else is Jenny Chang Gang. So that's where everyone could find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Jenny, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Jenny's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Jenny today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Want to learn how you can use podcasting to market your business? Download your free report by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.